begin with the end in mind. And I love this chapter. This really hits home for me. I think about this a lot, actually. Um, from the time, I don't know why, but the time when I turned 25 years old, there was almost like a brief moments of like depression that I remember being in my two-bedroom condo, and I had recently gotten married to my wife, obviously, and I was living in New Brunswick. I was thinking, my God, I've lived on this planet for a quarter century, right? And what have I done with my life? You know, and what do I have to show up with, you know, in front of the day of judgment? And what am I going to say for myself? Because recently, my college friend Daniel, who, you know, we went to Rutgers together, he passed away in a motorcycle accident. So this chapter, Stephen Covey, this is a little bit more sober type of a chapter where he starts off giving the picture of a funeral. And he says that, you know, you come to the funeral and now it's time to see who is in the casket, and everybody's looking, and you see yourself there. Right, you're seeing yourself, and the people that are here are at your funeral, and you hear the conversations that people are having, you know, and the things that they are saying about you, and which reminds me of a beautiful narration where, you know, a man was passing. It was a funeral that was passing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet, you know, he heard the companions really praising this person, right, as the funeral was passing. And he says, in Arabic, he says, wajabat, wajabat, wajabat. It has become mandatory, it has become mandatory, it has become mandatory. And the companion said, okay. And then they see another funeral that passed, you know, not too much after that. And the companions were talking, and they're saying, you know, this person, he used to like make promises, and then he would break the promises, and he used to be this way or that way with his wife, and so on and so forth. And they didn't really have a lot of good things to say about this person, right? And again, the Prophet repeated the same exact words. He said, wajabat, wajabat, wajabat. It has become mandatory, it has become mandatory, it has become mandatory. And so they asked him, you know, what do you mean, O Prophet of Allah? What do you mean that it has become mandatory? And he explains to them, well, as for the person that you guys were praising, and you were showering him with compliments as his janazah was going by, that person, wajabat lahul jannah, that jannah became mandatory for this person, because the inhabitants of the earth, the people that live here, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they become like a testimony of the way that you lived your life, right? And these people were praising this person. And then they talk about, as for the second person that passed, and you guys were complaining about this person because of the way that he used to treat people and so on, wajabat lahul nar, that the hellfire became mandatory for this person because of the way that he was. And so, you know, it's a very sobering type of a chapter where he says, begin with the end in mind. What kind of a life do you want to live, and how do you want to be remembered, that when you are in your, you know, in your casket and people are looking at you, what are the feelings that are going through their heart at that time? And then from a business standpoint, because of course, you know, a lot of personal development obviously ties in with business, begin with the end in mind. So if you start and you have no goal in the beginning of 2018 as far as my revenues or number of sales and things like that, if you have no target, then you have nothing to hit, right? It's like doing archery, but you don't have a target. So what are you going to shoot at? You need something to shoot at the end of the year. And then what you do with those goals is, if you have a yearly goal, then you break it down on a monthly basis. What do I need to do, right, to hit that goal? So for example, if I'm in sales and I need to hit $5 million in sales, you know, let's say $12 million in sales. That means I need to do $1 million each month, right, over 12 months. If I need to do $1 million each month, then I need to understand on a weekly basis, what am I doing? And then on a weekly basis, I need to do $250,000. And then on a daily basis, what does my activity level look like? You know, how many number of phone calls, how many client presentations am I doing? All of these things that tie in together, because the number and level of my activity, and if I'm working smart versus working hard, is going to help me attain that $250K per month, so that I can hit 12 million at the end of the year, right? And that's a way to start, is look at what's the end product that we want. So like, for example, we're looking at this summer program that we want to do. What do we want? We want kids that are excited to come every single day. So yeah, we can certainly have Quran memorization and things like that, but we have to ask the question, don't they get that during the school year, right? So wouldn't it be better to have, and you can also have Quran in there, but also have things that are, like Mushibha, you were saying, like physical education and things that really engage their mind and body in all aspects, as opposed to just sitting in a classroom and listening to somebody the whole time. So begin with the end in mind. I think it was a very powerful chapter. It's one of the most powerful chapters that I think anybody will read in any personal development book. So I'll pause there and we'll go into comments, inshallah.
Plus about you when you were 25 years old, you thought your quarter century is gone, then what's the next, right?
Yeah.
So what I felt when September 11 happened, that time I used to have an IT company, the Matrix Consulting. So I used to have around 50 employees that time. So what happened, my office was in building 1, and that day, September 11, 9:30, I was going to be in the building, 9:30 meeting, but my wife felt sick. That day I had to stay late to take care of her medicine. When store opens at 9 o'clock, right? And then get the medicine, and then I was going to run to the PAP train. I used to live in Jersey City, so from me it's 15 minutes to be in World Trade. So okay, now I'm going to run in office, my meeting late, so I let people know that I'm running late, just you guys continue. Long story short, when happened, my train was going to be in the World Trade, but my train turned around. They said there was a fire, this train is not going to go World Trade. So I'm thinking, okay, I gotta be on time on meeting. Anyway, what happened at the end of the day, all I looked into, Allah gave me a second chance to do something with my life. What did I do? So the beginning and end with mine, that's when I figured, inshallah, everything I do next in that 2001 to after that, I have to think of my legacy, just like it's when you die, what will somebody is going to say? So then me and my wife, we deep down looked into it. Hey, we have to work on building a family. So my daughter today is 15 years old. Now you can imagine everything happened from there. Big and end in mind, I want to leave a legacy, making sure, start a good example that someday my grandkid can say my grandpa came from different country, but he had a value, the faith that we wanted to have a better life, better legacy, live in this world. That when we go there, at least, we can. When I am in front of my Creator, I can say, I have done this, not for my dunya, akhirat.